Hello everybody, Jake, your resident content cowboy here, yeehaw, and today I have a big video planned for you. This is the held item tier list, and then after our tier list, I'm going to go through every single Pokemon in the game and show you a good held item setup for that Pokemon. I'm going to have timestamps in the video as best I can so that I can let you skip to which Pokemon you want to talk about. This tier list specifically is just going to be one big conversation about all these items and where they fall. Let's get started. Our tiers for today is our S, simply the best tier, our A, alrighty then tier, our B tier, still got the B tier, but I won't let it beat me. I won't let it beat me. The C tier, the careful, these are soups specific tier, and the Decidueye Memorial tier. As you all know, Decidueye is no longer in the D tier for me. However, we still need to memorialize that at one point it was a D tier Pokemon. Let's just start going through our list here, and I'm gonna kind of bounce around, maybe one in each category for a bit. Simply the best, Buddy Barrier. You knew this is coming. Buddy Barrier is one of the best items, if not the best item in Pokemon Unite. It gives you extra health as it's just base stat bonus, but what it really does is help you succeed whenever you use your Unite move. You get a shield if you're near an ally, they get a shield, and the difference this makes in late game team fights, the difference this makes when you're trying to fight over a Dreadnought, the difference this makes just when you're trying to KO a high level enemy. This item is without question one of, if not the best items in Pokemon Unite. You would be a fool if you don't run it on most characters inside the game. It's just too good. Moving down to our A tier, our alrighty then tier, our choice specs. Choice specs were added to the game more recently than some of the other items on this list. They were added around the time Weakness Policy and Razor Claw were both put into the game. And choice specs are really interesting because they kind of replace Wise Glasses in just about every way. The extra bit of damage that you get from them really goes a long way. It helps you get those KOs, it helps you secure wild Pokemon. One of the biggest things that you'll notice in Pokemon Unite is so many things come down to who gets the last hit on something, who gets the last hit on a Zapdos or a wild Pokemon, Dreadnought. All of those things really matter, and I think big bursts of damage are often much better than sustained, chips of damage. And the nice thing that you get with choice specs is another little burst of damage when you use your special attack moves. Almost every special attacker would rather run these than Wise Glasses. In fact, I think every single one of them probably would. There just might be some situations you would run Wise Glasses in. Choice specs, I think, are very, very good. If you're a special attacker, you will probably get some use out of choice specs. On to a B tier item. I think attack weight is a B tier item. Now, it's true that this item is very specific. However, the characters that can use this item really benefit from it. It's the best stacking item in my opinion. And the reason for that being, when you're an attacker, a regular attacker as opposed to a special attacker, all of your kit, basically, except for a couple Pokemon, all of your kit is influenced by attack. So for instance, Lucario, its basic attacks get better, all of its moves get better, its ability gets better, and then a Pokemon like Talonflame or Decidueye or something like that, they have huge scaling numbers based on attack. So if you're able to get a lot of attack stacks in with an attack weight, you get a huge benefit. And there are a ton of Pokemon that take advantage of this competitively. A lot of Pokemon in the top path. Not every Pokemon in the top path runs this. I have seen a few interesting cases, but for the most part, if you are alone in that top path, you're running this. Playing solo, you could even run this on a lot of different Pokemon. Again, it's quite specific. So you would think maybe in the C tier, the specific tier, but it's honestly so good on every Pokemon that could take advantage of it that I think it makes its way out of that C tier category. Okay, C tier. Let's talk about a C tier one. Let's start with experience share. Experience share when you are playing alone is the worst item in the game. I would never recommend you run it. You will never really get the benefit of it. You cannot count on allies that you cannot communicate with to use your experience share effectively. If you're playing playing a support and you know what you're doing, you'll often be a higher level than someone on your team who doesn't know what they're doing. So you just lose so much value with this item. However, on coordinated teams, usually one Pokemon runs this item and it's pretty beneficial. That being said, it's still insanely niche. I almost want to put it in the Decidueye Memorial tier. Let's be clear, if you are playing, again, solo, probably even duo, trio, unless you're going to be in lane with somebody, never run this item. It's way too specific. However, what it does for coordinated play is actually pretty decent. And a D tier item, let's just start with Leftovers. Leftovers probably the worst item in the game. I don't know, there are a couple ones that come in really close, but Leftovers is terrible. The reason Leftovers is bad, and it's great in mainline Pokemon games, I love it in mainline Pokemon games. The reason it's bad in Unite is you have to be out of combat for such a large period of time for this item to start working. And then once it finally does, it's not like you get all the benefit right away. It is a heal over time. So only a few Pokemon can even really take advantage of this, you know, considering Pokemon with very large health pools. But oftentimes you could just base instead and get your healing. You could grab a berry. You might not even need to get that much healing. And the amount of time you have to be out of combat is just so high. This item provides almost no value to any character. I would highly recommend not using this item on anyone. Let's take a look at another S tier item, and that's a Focus Band. Focus Band is amazing on really any Pokemon you put it on. There might be reasons to not run a Focus Band, and again, I will talk about specific Pokemon and items they can run a little later. There are lots of Pokemon that you might not put a Focus Band on. However, there isn't a single Pokemon in the game that putting a Focus Band on wouldn't be good. If you took someone who knew nothing about this video game and gave them a level 30 Buddy Barrier and Focus Band on all of their Pokemon, they would have a leg up on people running items that are not those, for sure. It recovers an insane amount of health when your health gets low. It also gives you, you know, a little extra boost to your defenses here. A really solid item. You don't always need to get it to level 30. It does just fine at level 20. Same with Buddy Barrier. However, you know, it's a nice little HP boost there at level 30. I guess I should mention what items do well at level 30. Right now, every item we've looked at is okay. If you want to upgrade them to 30, maybe Buddy Barrier is the way to go. Maybe Focus Band. They wouldn't be my first choices though. However, both of these items, Buddy and Focus, amazing. Put them on any Pokemon and they're going to at least help you multiple times a match. All right, another A tier item here, another alrighty then tier. Let's talk about Scope Lens. Scope Lens is, for characters that can use it, one of the best items in the game. It gives you more chance to critically hit. It makes your critical hits do more damage. It also adds another extra bit of damage every time you critical hit with a basic attack. It's pretty hard to not use this item on certain characters. It's amazing on someone like Cinderace, Absol, Greninja. You could even use it on a lot of all-rounders because they have decent critical hit ability. Charizard makes great use of this item. Basically, anyone who you are hoping to get critical hits on can take big advantage of Scope Lens. This is actually an item I would recommend getting to level 30 if you have multiple characters that you find using this on. You can find critical hit rates for a lot of different characters on a website like UniteDB, so I would head over there and check that out if you're curious what characters critically hit well. But just a basic rule of thumb, a lot of your normal attackers and a lot of your all-rounders critically hit. I believe Gengar doesn't because he's special attack based, but you know, speedsters as well. Talonflame has good critical hit. Zeraora, I think, has pretty good critical hit. So again, if you are using a Pokemon that takes advantage of critical hits, this item is almost a must. Incredible item. I'm actually not sure if I want to throw another item into the B tier or not. I might. Let me move down to the super specific C tier right here. And we're going to talk about an item like special attack specs. So special attack specs are just a stacking item like an attack weight, but for special attacks. So special attackers take larger advantage of these items. The only difference is With special attack characters, this doesn't affect all of their basic attacks, so they kind of get hurt a little bit for that. And some of their scaling isn't always as good as some of the attackers. For instance, Decidueye's scaling on its Spirit Shackle is 400 some percent. And the basic explanation of that just means for every little bit of attack you get, it affects its ability more than you would on a Pokemon like, let's say, Pikachu, who scales its special attack at about 60%. You also see, for certain moves, you also see that a lot of special attackers don't take as much advantage of this item as you would hope, and not all of them score as well because a lot of them are ranged. I think these are super specific. And there are some Pokemon that these are actually pretty good on, but in general, these items are just, they're tough to recommend. Only a few Pokemon can really take advantage of them. Another D tier item, let's talk about Assault Vest. So Assault Vest is interesting because I will say, for whatever it's worth, I'm not ordering these, but Assault Vest, way better than Leftovers. But the thing about Assault Vest is, if you are running into an enemy team with very little special attack, which when you're playing solo, duo, even sometimes in coordinated teams, they don't have a ton of special attack, this item is almost useless. In fact, if they have no special attackers on the enemy team, this item does essentially nothing. You have a big shield around you all game, but you never actually end up using it. I have another video on my channel, I did it a while back, where I was putting this item on a few different Pokemon to test it out, and I ran into a match where there was not a single special attacker in the entire match, and because of that, this item is essentially a useless slot. If you were able to know the lineup of the enemy team, you might be able to take advantage of an item like this, but in the current state of this game, it unfortunately is just terrible. You don't know if you're going to make any use out of it. Again, better than Leftovers, because unlike Leftovers, you get this Assault Vest shield when you're out of combat for 8 seconds, just like Leftovers, although maybe it's 7 now. Anyway, just like Leftovers. However, it comes immediately, the full shield. So you don't have to tick up to getting a full shield. Because of that, it's better than Leftovers, but not by much. All right, another S tier item, Muscle Band. Muscle Band can be used on so many Pokemon. Any Pokemon that's ranged, by the way, Muscle Band is pretty much necessary on those Pokemon. It's not because it gives you extra attack, and it's not necessarily because of the attack speed, but I will talk about the attack speed in a moment. It's because every basic attack you do, which you do an insane amount of them, especially if you're ranged, but this also works on a lot of melee characters, but especially if you're ranged, you're always chipping away at enemy health. And an item like this just does so much extra damage throughout a match. It is crazy, crazy good. Again, these 3 items, if you put them on basically any Pokemon in the game, they would be pretty dang good. They're not amazing on every single Pokemon. There are some that wouldn't want to run maybe the Focus Band or the Muscle Band, but in general, it's amazing. Now, the attack speed's really interesting because certain Pokemon have their attack speed capped at different, not even certain, all Pokemon have weird level gates where their attack speed is capped, and then you have to gain more levels for that attack speed to go up. It doesn't go up kind of just in a curve where it's like, oh, this just adds 7.5% attack speed at level 30. There are some Pokemon who take great advantage of the extra attack speed and some that don't. My big thought on this is don't think about this item that much for the extra attack speed. Some Pokemon it works on, some Pokemon it doesn't affect at all, but that's not the point of running it. It's all the extra damage you get from your basic attacks. Because of that, it's one of the best items in the game. Another A tier item I think is the Razor Claw. On Pokemon that can take advantage of this item's great. It works pretty good on ranged attack characters like Decidueye, Cinderace. You could also see it on tons of melee characters because of its extra ability to slow them down. I love this on Talonflame. I know people like running this on Pokemon like Garchomp. Works great on Tsareena. I mean, this item is really excellent. I even see people running on Pokemon like Trevenant where, you know, they're getting extra bits of damage. They're slowing the enemy even more. I love Razor Claw, and I think it works well on a ton of Pokemon. We'll talk a little more later about what Pokemon I like to run it on, but this item works Really, really great for just extra bits of damage after you use your moves. Skipping over the B tier again, let's head down to our C tier, and I think that's where we could find Wise Glasses. See, the reason Wise Glasses are so low right now is because this item is kind of outclassed by choice specs in almost every way. It's insanely specific. There are a couple Pokemon you would run this item on, but besides that, you really would run choice specs in every situation if you wanted extra damage from your special attackers. I'm a little confused as to why this item is still in the position it's in, but all of the items in Pokemon Unite have released and been unchanged. So I don't know when or if they are going to ever make changes to their held items. This one could use a little bit of a rework to be a much more solid item. It probably needs to give you a big boost to your special attack, because even though it's giving you 7% to your special attack, that doesn't mean your attacks are going to be 7% stronger. That means your special attack stat, which goes into a formula that calculates your damage, is going to be higher. And that really doesn't output as much damage as you would think. Run your choice specs on every Pokemon that you're thinking of running Wise Glasses on, basically. Time for something else in that D tier. Let's talk about Floatstone. Floatstone, it works kind of just like these other two items where it activates after 8 seconds. It has a couple uses inside this game. I've seen people use it on Talonflame with Fly. I've seen people use it on Decidueye because, you know, it can activate and you get extra move speed until you hit with your Spirit Shackle. That being said, I just still think it needs a lot to be a more useful item. If it triggered a lot faster, then I think this item would be pretty good. The unfortunate thing is this item is just on cooldown all the time, because if you're doing your job inside Pokemon Unite, you're making it from area to area, oftentimes attacking wild Pokemon so you can get experience, and then you're in an encounter with the enemy, so you're fighting, and all that time you don't get the extra move speed from Floatstone. The times I have used it, especially in my road to Masters using low tier items, it's super fun, and there are a few cool uses for it. I just can't imagine dropping a better item for a Floatstone. It really doesn't give you enough. I'm gonna hang out here in the D tier for a minute, and I'm gonna talk about Energy Amp. So I have not had Energy Amp in the D tier in previous tier lists, and I always am trying to make this item work. And the fact of the matter is, you just don't get that much value out of it. A few Pokemon, maybe a little bit. I was using it on Charizard, I was using it on Cramorant, I was trying it on Aegislash, I was trying it on different Pokemon for a time, just thinking, okay, well, when I use my Unite move, I want to deal a ton of damage. Like I was using it on Gardevoir, so you throw down that big Gardevoir Unite and then throw a bunch of damage there. All of that is fine. It's just, the sad truth is you would rather run Buddy Barrier all the time, and then after that there are other items you would like to run. This item falls into kind of that category that we talk about every once in a while, which is this would be a great fourth item slot. If there was somehow a way that you could have a fourth item on your Pokemon in Pokemon Unite, I could see a lot of people trying to run this item. But given how many better items there are inside the game, I actually think this item is severely underpowered. Again, I try to use it a lot. I think it's really cool. I just have found that this item, it doesn't do what you want it to do. And also, the Unite charge rate and the cooldown reduction, I have not seen a huge benefit from that. There are only a couple Pokemon that I think could actually take advantage of it, and it's probably someone like Pikachu, maybe Talonflame, maybe Charizard, and again, all of those Pokemon, you'd probably just rather run a Buddy Barrier and 2 other items. Heading on up to our C tier, I can't believe I'm gonna put it here, but let's talk about Weakness Policy. When Weakness Policy first came out, I did not like it. And I don't love Weakness Policy, however, for the few Pokemon that it works on, it actually works pretty well. I don't see a lot of benefit for most Pokemon. I like this on Pokemon that deal a ton of burst damage, or Pokemon that are in an encounter for a long time. So I like running this on a power-up punch Lucario. I think it's pretty good there. I've seen some people run this on Machamp. I could see some value to it there. It's kind of set up for all-rounders. Someone who's in an encounter for a decent amount of time, and while they're in that encounter, they're doing more damage. A great Pokemon for this is Aegislash. I think Aegislash is kit is basically set up for you to dive in and then pull up your defenses. At that point, you kind of get your weakness policy stacks, and then you can go back to doing damage. It's pretty cool for Pokemon like that. In general, there are a lot of items that outclass it, but for a few specific cases, I do like weakness policy. As crazy as it sounds from the guy who made a video called Weakness Policy Bad. Let's see. Eos Cookie. I think Eos Cookie is in the Decidueye Memorial tier or the bottom of the C tier. There are a couple Pokemon that can benefit from it, but you have to score to get extra HP. And to do that, you either have to be scoring with no other Pokemon there stopping you, like a top path Pokemon in a coordinated team, or you have to be sacrificing an item that could probably be something else for Eos Cookie, which gives you extra health on Pokemon that probably already have a lot of health. Strangely enough, I think most of the time in Pokemon Unite, you build into Pokemon's strengths. This is the one item where I think it almost works best when you're building it into a Pokemon's weakness, like a Greninja or an Absol or something like that. If you can get the stacks on this item, you have a lot more health than you would otherwise. That being said, it's just really hard to find a ton of value out of this item. I almost want to put it into the Memorial tier, but I'd rather run this than almost anything down there. Maybe Energy Amp, I don't know. This is a low one. It's a very low tier item, and it just doesn't give you enough health. Now, if it gave you health and some defenses, I don't know, all of a sudden this item could be really, really good. I would love to see a little buff to an item like Eos Cookie. Rocky Helm, get out of here. Rocky Helm is in the Decidueye Memorial tier. It's terrible. Rocky Helm just doesn't do anything. I wish it did something. It does deal some damage to enemies based on your max HP when they hit you enough, and there's like an internal cooldown. Guys, it just doesn't work. It's a cool item. If it reflected back a percentage of damage all the time, that would be kind of cool. I mean, maybe that's a worthwhile item. I don't know. Rocky Helm right now, not good. Don't use it. Not good. Don't use it. Shell Bell is a weird one because Shell Bell, just like Eos Cookie, is kind of in this weird limbo between not really good at all and at least it's better than Leftovers. I'm gonna put it at the bottom of C tier here. There are a couple Pokemon that you can run a Shell Bell on. The big issue with Shell Bell is that its cooldown comes up even when you have full health. So if you hit someone with a move, it would heal you. However, you can do this when you have full health. So it really only works on Pokemon that are in encounters for an extended period of time. There are only a few Pokemon I can think of that take advantage of Shell Bell really at all. I like it, it just needs a little help. And then all of a sudden I think it could be a B tier item. I really do. But right now it's a very, very low tier item. It's not, again, Leftovers bad, but it's pretty low down there. And the cooldown you get's almost nothing at all. I know it seems cool to have cooldown reduction on your moves. Seems cool, doesn't it? To have cooldown reduction, doesn't it seem cool? And it does seem pretty cool, but the amount is so low. It needs to be like 15% or something like that for you to feel a difference in using an item like a Shell Bell. If you know me, you know I have a lot of love for this next item, Score Shield. I think Score Shield is amazing. It is better when you're playing by yourself than, or you know, solos, duos, trios, than if you're playing with a coordinated 5-person team, because that team might not need the effects of that Score Shield as much as others. However, this item wins games, and it can't be understated how important it is to sometimes throw in an extra 100 points right at the end because the enemy couldn't break your Score Shield and you were able to put those points in. Not only that, it works well in lane. Any Pokemon that's really tanky takes huge advantage of an item like Score Shield, and you can really bully the enemy team with something like this too. You kind of keep scoring in their faces, you put tons of points on the board. Because of that, you're getting experience and charging your Unite moves, and you're constantly keeping them, you know, distracted with what you're doing. It's a really great item, especially for a lot of the tankier characters. But as I was saying earlier, and I really do think this, if you were someone who was mix and matching the best items from the bottom 2 tiers on a Pokemon, and you were just someone who simply ran anything in the S tier, Everything in the S tier would be better than everything kind of mixed and matched in these bottom tiers here. So there is our held item tier list. And now I'm going to take you over to a list of all the Pokemon, and I'm going to show you a build for each one. And I'll also, if I can, give you some options as to other items that work pretty well. And none of these shenanigans. I'm not just going to move it around right here, have someone skip. Someone would have to skip to such a weird point in the video to find this, me moving this around and then having a conversation like, that's why Shell Bell is now one of the best items in the game, and it's because of Assault Vest. Assault Vest, you get it. It's a fun bit. Over to the Pokemon. All right, here I'm gonna go over a held item build for every Pokemon in the game. Let's start with Venusaur here. Venusaur, Focus Band, Muscle Band, Buddy Barrier. This is for that Petal Dance Giga Drain build. However, this exact setup works very, very well also for the Sludge Bomb Solar Beam build. If you want to change something up here, I've seen people not run a Muscle Band and they would drop that for a Score Shield. Not my personal favorite way to go, but that is an option, is running Score Shield instead of that Muscle Band there. Another thing that I've seen some people try to do is if you are using the Solar Beam Venusaur, they are running Choice Specs. This way, every time they are doing damage with that Solar Beam, they're getting extra bits of damage. I don't even think it's honestly that necessary. I personally really just like this basic setup here. Muscle, Buddy, Focus on both builds. I think it's great. Charizard, as I said earlier, I'd like to run Energy Amp on Charizard. I just haven't found that I've even needed it. I think Buddy Barrier, Scope Lens, Muscle Band is the way to go on Char. Char has a ton of critical hit potential, and Scope Lens helps you critically hit more and do more damage. Buddy Barrier, because Charizard is built around its Unite move. You want to do as much damage as you possibly can when you're in its Unite move, and for that, you want to be alive long enough to do that. And then Muscle Band right here. You are doing basic attacks all the time with Char. It doesn't help its attack speed, but it helps that extra tick of damage that you get on enemies a lot. I think this is an amazing setup for Char. I've seen other things run on Char, like, again, Energy Amplifier. I've seen some people try Weakness Policy, but for me, this is the best build for Char. There are a few different setups for Blastoise that I think are pretty good. A Buddy Barrier, Muscle Band, Focus Band is great. You do tons of range basic attacks with Blastoise. The Buddy Barrier just gives you an even bigger shield, and then the Focus Band keeps you alive. I could drop Muscle Band here and run Score Shield if I want to be a really aggressive scoring Blastoise. I also could drop either Score Shield or Focus Band and run something like Choice Specs or Special Attack Specs. Blastoise actually has really good scaling on its special attack, so if you're able to get a lot of stacks in early, you can get up to 6. You actually give a big boost of damage to its Unite move, to its Hydro Pump. I actually think this is a pretty decent Pokemon to run a stacking build on. Pikachu is one of the only Pokemon that I even try Energy Amplifier on, and it's because you get your Unite move so often with Pikachu that it's nice to have that extra bit of damage there. That being said, I think it would be better to run a Focus Band or Choice Specs. I kind of love running Muscle Band, Choice Specs, Buddy Barrier. Focus Band, again, also good. It keeps you alive, but you're doing constant extra damage with that Muscle Band, and then when you hit with your Electro Balls, your Thunders, you're just getting extra pops of damage from your Choice Specs. I personally think I run this build on Pikachu more than the other build with Energy Amp. I want Energy Amp to be good, it's just, you know, not great. Alolan Ninetales is an interesting one because it's kind of got two builds that you'd want to run different items on. So this is what I've been running lately on the Aurora Veil build, because when you run a Scope Lens, your boosted attacks can critically hit and you're hitting for an insane amount of damage. If you don't need that extra damage and you want to stay alive longer, a Focus Band is a great way to go. This build that you're looking at right here could also be used if you're running the Avalanche Blizzard build. However, if you want more damage from that, you could drop the Focus Band and run Choice Specs, or you could drop the Muscle Band, keep the Focus Band, and have Buddy Barrier, Choice Specs Focus Band. Again, most Ninetales right now are Aurora Veil, and because of that, you're seeing a Muscle Band. You're just doing basic attacks all the time, and I really like a Scope Lens right now because when you critically hit, it hits for a lot, and you're basic attacking a ton, so I'm actually surprised by how often I get critical hits with Ninetales. Wigglytuff is just a super tanky defender, Buddy Barrier, Score Shield, Focus Band. I think this is the way to go on 99% of Wigglies. However, if you are running a rollout Wigglytuff, I do like running special attack specs. All of its moves actually scale pretty well with special attack, so if you're aggressive, you score a lot, you use that rollout a ton, you get a lot of value out of special attack specs. And its Unite Move Shield is based off special attack, its boosted attack. This is another one of those Pokemon that I actually do like stacking on, but I think a simple Buddy Barrier, Focus Band, Score Shield is a great way to go on Wiggly. Machamp, like a lot of the all-rounders, actually has a ton of variety. So this was from me earlier, just kind of stacking my attack weight in the top path with a Buddy Barrier Muscle Band. I think there are a lot of good items for Machamp. I've seen some people not run Buddy Barriers, not run attack weights. They want to have a Focus Band in here. Some people want to deal more with critical hits, so they have a Scope Lens in here. They run Band, Scope Lens. I think, oops, sorry, microphone. I think the build that is most solid is simple. It's Muscle Band, Focus Band, Buddy Barrier. However, I stack on Machamp every time I play it, basically. So I usually drop my Focus Band and I put on an attack weight. And sometimes, if I'm not too worried about the Muscle Band aspect, the basic attacks from my Machamp, I might even put on a Score Shield so I can make those stacks easier. That being said, I think there are a lot of different ways to build this Pokemon. As I mentioned earlier, this is one of the Pokemon that you could run Weakness Policy on. I don't think you need to. However, you know, if you have a fully stacked Weakness Policy and you hit with your Unite move, yeah, it's pretty solid. Slowbro is one of the only Pokemon that you really don't need a Buddy Barrier on. You could have a Buddy Barrier, but oftentimes you don't need that extra shield that you give to an ally. You just get so much tankiness from being Slowbro and using its Unite move already. That being said, Focus Band, Muscle Band, Score Shield I think is a super solid build here. This makes it really easy to score. You're always doing basic attacks and you're even more difficult to KO. If you don't like using Score Shield, I think Choice Specs is another great option here. You just get extra bits of damage all the time. Slowbro outputs a surprising amount of damage for a defender. If you don't like that and you just really want to be more protected, a Buddy Barrier isn't a bad way to go either. Gengar is an interesting Pokemon. I like running triple glasses on Gengar, but I know some people don't like running triple glasses and don't find options to score a lot of the time. I think if you don't find a ton of value out of stacking your special attack specs, I would drop them. If you find out that you're not scoring in matches, drop these for something like a Buddy Barrier or even a Focus Band, so that when you get into some of your situations where you kind of dive in with Gengar, you're able to survive longer. Another option that I've seen some people run is dropping Wise Glasses as well and using something like a Shell Bell, or perhaps dropping this Shell Bell once again for a Buddy Barrier. I think Buddy Barrier is pretty good. I mean, on any Pokemon, it's nice to get a shield, especially going in there and fighting once you have that. So build like this, very, very good. I personally like the 3 glasses because I often find myself stacking those glasses and I just want to do as much damage as I possibly can with Gengar. Delete my enemies as quickly as possible. That's my #1 focus. Blissey, not a big shocker. Focus Band, Buddy Barrier, Score Shield. You have so much health as this character, and this just lets you score with it. It gives your allies a shield when you use your Unite move, which is really nice because you're sharing HP with them. So now you've got this shield that's sharing. Focus Band just keeps you alive. Other options for this, you actually get okay scaling from your moves. So you could use special attack specs. It'll give you a bigger shield when you safeguard, more health when you use your soft boiled. That being said, I think the setup to go with here is Score Shield, Buddy Barrier, Focus Band. Mr. Mime is very, very similar to Blissey. This is a super solid setup pretty much on any supporter inside the game. They're in melee range, so you don't use Muscle Band as often with these characters. But if you want to do more damage with Mime, I think you could also stack special attack specs. Or if you just want extra bits of damage all the time, I think choice specs are actually a great call on a character like this. Maybe you drop your Score Shield and you keep a Focus Band there. So when you've got that guard swap tethered to an enemy, every once in a while, just extra bits of damage are popping from these choice specs. All decent options for Mr. Mime, but a support character like this, you can always just play it super tanky and you wouldn't regret it. Snorlax, tank him up, baby. Super tanky, super tanky. He's already a tank. Lean into it. If you are playing a flail build, there are some other options that you could go with here. I'd probably drop a Score Shield and put on a Muscle Band. I might also drop a Buddy Barrier or that Muscle Band for a Scope Lens. That way when I'm using Flail, those attacks can critically hit. It's super fun if you're playing Flail. On a regular Snorlax though, I really don't see a reason to run anything else than just this standard setup right here. However, Flail Snorlax, if you're trying to carry, I could see running other items. Dragonite, Buddy Barrier, Score Shield, Muscle Band. You're doing tons of ranged attacks, so I think Muscle Band is pretty great for this Pokemon. Score Shield, because we all know those moments where Dragonite flies across the entire map, scores that 50 points. You just have to go, oh, great. It just scored, you know, we're under 2 minutes, so it just scored 100 points. We couldn't break its Score Shield with its Buddy Barrier. I think it's kind of a necessity on Dragonite because of the plays it can make. It is a playmaker with those items, so this is what I recommend on Dragonite. If you are running Outrage, I could see you dropping one of these items. I personally might even keep the Score Shield, but I could see you dropping one of these items for something like Razor Claw, or even going full out damage, dropping it all for Muscle, Razor, Scope. That way you're just hitting more with those big critical hits from Outrage. Lately on Mamoswine, I've been going back and forth between Focus Band, Muscle Band, Buddy Barrier, and Focus Band, Muscle Band, Score Shield. The big reason being its Unite move isn't that great. So I don't find a ton of use out of it in general. However, having a Buddy Barrier just to give you and an ally a shield is always pretty great. I like Muscle Band because you are basic attacking with this Pokemon a ton. You're up in people's faces, you're attacking them every second you can and freezing them as often as possible. So I really love having a Muscle Band and Focus Band for that reason. Again, your third item, maybe running a Buddy Barrier there would be the way to go. I also like Score Shield a lot. Did I tell you I like Score Shield a lot? For Gardevoir, I think either triple glasses or 2 glasses and Buddy Barrier here. Gardevoir is one of the few Pokemon where Wise Glasses actually does a decent job because they have really good scaling on their special attack and they have so much special attack. That being said, because they have so much special attack, choice specs are just kind of a must. Again, if you don't find a lot of use out of this Buddy Barrier, you can run all 3 glasses. You've just got to be in a position to score often. And if you're not in a position to score often, well, I could see you dropping those special attack specs, getting something like a Focus Band or Buddy Barrier. That way you could survive longer in some of these fights when you use your Unite move. Absol. Absol is a critical hit monster. Scope Lens, Razor Claw, Buddy Barrier. I have, of course, seen the Absol in the, I believe it was the Japanese tournament where they were running an Eos cookie. They were in the top path and they were kind of going against the solo lane, so they were able to score a lot. I think that strategy is really cool, but I don't see why you couldn't just run Scope, Razor, Buddy. You also, if you don't feel like you're getting a ton of value out of one of these items here, like Razor Claw, for instance, even though I think it's great, you could run something like a Muscle Band. I personally think Buddy Barrier on Absol is, boy, probably its most useful item, because when you get into an encounter and you use your Unite move, you get to live long enough to do a ton of damage. I really wouldn't drop Buddy Barrier on Absol. For Garchomp, it's either Buddy Barrier, Muscle Band, Scope Lens, or it's Buddy Barrier, Muscle Band, Focus Band. Sometimes people will drop their Buddy Barrier entirely to give you a Scope Lens as well, but it's one of these setups right here. Personally, I've really been liking keeping my Garchomp super strong with something like this. I have my Buddy Barrier for my Unite move. and I also have my focus band so I can stay alive longer in an encounter. However, I did have a ton of fun the other day playing with this setup right here. Muscle Band, Buddy Barrier, Scope Lens. That way, when you are getting those critical hits with your basic attacks, they're just doing a lot more damage. Lucario is a Pokemon I bounce around with held items on all the time. Last match I played, I did attack weight, weakness policy, Buddy Barrier. Sometimes I do attack weight, weakness policy, Score Shield. This is when I'm using Power Up Punch. Other times, obviously, if you're playing the extreme speed build, you could run Razor Claw, weakness policy, attack weight. A few other item choices that are always good on Lucario, dropping a weakness policy for something like a Muscle Band, a Focus Band is good. Lucario has a lot of build options, but the build that I use the most in solo queue is going to be Muscle Band, attack weight, Score Shield. Where is it? No, sorry, not Muscle Band. I'm dumb. I'm being dumb. It's actually, as strange as it sounds with Power Up Punch, it is attack weight, Score Shield, weakness policy. Those close combats and those power-up punches hit for an insane amount when you're in a tough encounter using weakness policy. So this is what I've been running when I'm playing solo. If you have no issues scoring, however, and you're not playing solo, I think you could easily swap Score Shield out for something else here. Lucario, one of the only Pokemon I think weakness policy works really well on. Crustle, I keep it simple. Score Shield, Focus Band, Buddy Barrier. You can make these incredible late game scores with Crustle. If, because you're scoring all the time, you want to stack an item on Crustle, you can. It doesn't get an insane amount out of attack weight, and it already has a ton of health, which is why I don't often love stacking an Eos Cookie on a ton of the tanky Pokemon. You're giving them just a little bit of what they've already got, and it doesn't feel like as overwhelming as, you know, an attack weight would be. You know, I just realized maybe a cool way to make Eos Cookie better is for it to give percentage HP. That way on these defensive monsters, it's like crazy good. Anyway, I digress. This is what I like running on Crustle right here. You used to be able to run crit items, but really I don't see a great reason to run crit items on Crustle anymore. Greninja, I run Buddy Barrier, Muscle Band, Focus Band. If you find that you're not getting a ton of use out of that Focus Band and you actually don't need that extra bit of health inside an encounter, then I would switch that for a Scope Lens. Scope Lens is also very good on Greninja. I think the thing about Greninja is when you use your Unite move, you jump into an encounter and you could possibly KO the entire enemy team with how you fight in that encounter. And both Focus Band and Buddy Barrier really help you in that moment. Again, I really like Scope Lens, but lately it's been Band, Buddy for my Greninja. Talon, I've been running Razor Claw, Buddy Barrier, Scope Lens. If you don't feel like you get a ton of value out of this Scope Lens, I feel like I get so much value. I'm critically hitting all the time with Talon. You land on him with a Fly or a Brave Bird, then you're right there doing your basic attacks. That being said, if you want a build that will help you win matches possibly more often with scoring, it's a Score Shield. Obviously, Talon's Unite, you get it a ton. You can use that Buddy Barrier Unite move to get some crazy good scores. This is probably a more winning build just from the, you know, bigger picture, you know, situation. Your team is a little behind. You could sneak a big score using your Unite. However, lately I'm full on running Razor Claw, Scope Lens, Buddy Barrier. It's just so good. I love it. The build variety is extremely high with Aegislash. I think a Buddy Barrier is pretty amazing on any Pokemon that needs to get in to deal damage after they use their Buddy Barrier, and it's just good in general. So the nice thing about Aegislash's Unite, it, you know, has that huge amount of damage that it throws down, but I don't find it often KOs people as much as you would like it to. So I find that I usually have to engage afterwards and get my KOs that way. That's why I want an item like a Buddy Barrier. Focus Band, pretty good for this Pokemon because it's always really in the heat of battle. Razor Claw, because you're switching between your moves back and forth and those melees slow the enemy. I like Razor Claw, maybe not the most necessary. In fact, there are a lot of great items. Weakness Policy is very good on Aegislash. Razor Claw, you could swap for something like a Muscle Band. You could also swap it for a Scope Lens. It has pretty low critical hit, so I would only run a Scope Lens if you are using the Shadow Claw build. Otherwise, you might be running something like this build right here. which I've run a lot. Again, I think there's a lot of build variety within these few items for Aegislash. Sylveon, Focus Band, Muscle Band, Buddy Barrier. This is often what I run for the Mystical Fire build. At times, I might drop my Focus Band and throw on Choice Specs if I feel like, yeah, I've been playing a lot and I don't really find that I'm getting too low in a lot of encounters there. Sylveon regenerates health in multiple ways throughout the battle, so I like aiding that a little bit, but Choice Specs are a great call. Now, if you are playing the Hyper Voice build, sometimes I will run either a second pair of glasses that are stacked or even Wise Glasses just to get more damage out of my Hyper Voice in these encounters. The other option, I might drop those glasses and run that Focus Band. A few different options on Sylveon there. However, on Hyper Voice build, you really don't need a Muscle Band because you're not basic attacking a lot. You're using your Hyper Voice a ton. Trevenant, you know I love you. Buddy Barrier, Focus Band, sometimes honestly an Eos Cookie. It's one of the only Pokemon that has so many abilities that scale off HP, but it can be a little tough to score with this Pokemon at times. I think you could do a simple score shield here and that would work great. I have been enjoying using items like Muscle Band or Razor Claw for this Pokemon. You're using your abilities a lot, and then you're right next to enemies, so you can basic attack them, getting that extra pop of damage as well as that decrease in movement speed, which can be really nice to control the battle with this Pokemon. Focus Band just kind of gives you another way to heal. Trevenant already kind of has a built-in Focus Band, and now you're just giving it another Focus Band. And Buddy Barrier is really hard to pass up. I've seen some people try Weakness Policy. I don't think it's super necessary. Outside of that, and again, Eos Cookie, which kind of works okay on Trev. I don't think there are a ton of great options for this Pokemon. Score Shield, Focus Band, Buddy Barrier can also be run on any Pokemon in the game, essentially. Hoopa. Lately with my Hoopa, it's been Buddy Barrier, Muscle Band, Choice Specs. The Choice Specs just give me that extra damage with my Shadow Ball and the extra damage early in lane. Even if you're using Hyperspace Hole, it will trigger on Choice Specs, or if you're using Trick, you just get the damage later from Shadow Ball. Muscle Band because you're basic attacking constantly with this Pokemon. I kind of think you could drop Buddy Barrier if you're not getting a lot of value out of it. Hoopa uses its Unite move in interesting ways where you often don't use it in the heat of battle. You use it before a battle is about to start to bring your allies to you. But at the same time, why wouldn't you want to have your shield for a little while after you do that? If you do want to drop it, I could see someone maybe dropping it for a Focus Band or something like that. This is another Pokemon that I tried using Energy Amplifier on, and it's cool because Hoopa, you know, becomes unbound and does a ton of damage, but I think you're better off just keeping that Buddy Barrier there. Decidueye, I play Spirit Shackle and I run Attack Weight, Razor Claw, Muscle Band oftentimes. I also could see someone running something like a Focus Band on this Pokemon because its health does get pretty low quickly and you want to be able to regain it in some of those moments. You could play this in lane with Razor Claw and it actually works pretty well for some of your securing. If you end up playing this Pokemon in the center, however, you probably don't need Razor Claw and you're better off with something like Scope Lens or Focus Band. However, if you're running Spirit Shackle, I'm telling you, if you can stack this attack weight up, oh my goodness, it's just... Spirit Shackle already is crazy, and now it's doing even more damage. One of my favorite Pokemon to stack on. However, it is tough to do. Tsareena, like a lot of the all-rounders, has a lot of options right now. I like stacking an attack weight if I'm playing the Stomp build, which is my personal favorite build. I like having a Focus Band because Tsareena has that built-in combo healing, and this just helps you stay alive longer in an encounter to do that. Razor Claw, also a super fun item because you're comboing a lot, so you're using moves a lot, meaning you get a lot of value out of Razor Claw. If you have trouble stacking, you could run a Score Shield. You could run a Buddy Barrier as well on this character. You get your Unite move a lot, and it's pretty good. Of course, you're doing a ton of basic attacks, so a Muscle Band is a pretty good call here. If you don't end up running the Stomp build, I haven't really stacked too much with Triple Axle, but I could imagine you could run something more like this on Triple Axle. Focus, Muscle, Razor. That being said, Tsareena, another Pokemon that actually takes some advantage of Weakness Policy because it's in encounters for a while. So your damage is there. You're getting the Weakness Policy increased damage on all of your comboed moves. I often don't play this though. What I often play is sometimes, honestly, Score Shield, Razor Claw, attack weight is a lot of what I've been playing lately. Something like this, or dropping that attack weight for a focus band. So yeah, I really like stacking on Tsareena, and I use the Score Shield to do it, and I'm not afraid to say that. Zeraora. Whoa, hold on. This was me doing a meme. Zeraora. This is what I like running on Zeraora lately. Razor Claw, Focus Band, Buddy Barrier. This is for the Wild Charge build. The reason being, Buddy Barrier is just nice for when you use your Unite move and you stay around longer in an encounter, and it helps for those end game fights. Focus Band because this keeps me alive long enough to be in the fight and hopefully hit multiple wild charges if I plan it correctly. And Razor Claw works really well with Spark. You just get tons of extra damage with this. So when I'm using the wild charge build, this is what I'm running. For Discharge, which I don't play as much, it would be something more like, let me see. I might still run Razor Claw. I might run a lot of this. I might actually just put in Muscle Band because of, you know, the extra basic attacks you're doing with Volt Switch here. I've also seen some people try using Energy Amp and attack weight to make your discharge better. I have not found a ton of success with that. Weakness policy isn't too bad with discharge because you're in there, you're fighting, it is increasing the damage of it. However, I believe I've been running something like this. Muscle, Focus, Buddy. Mostly I'm playing Wild Charge these days. Cinderace, keep it simple, my guy. Buddy Barrier, Muscle Band, Scope Lens. You get a lot of critical hits, this helps. You do a ton of basic attacks from range, this helps. You want to stay alive after you use your Unite move, Buddy Barrier is the way to go. You could go full out with damage and run a Razor Claw, but the only time I would recommend doing this is if you're using Pyro Ball. If you're using Blaze Kick, I find that you're kind of too in the fight sometimes, and when you throw your Unite move, your health goes down too fast. So this is the Cinderace build, in my opinion. Scope, Muscle, Buddy. Greedent. Attack weight, Buddy Barrier, Score Shield. You want a Score Shield because you're scoring in the opponent's faces all the time. Attack weight really helps either Belch or Bullet Seed. Buddy Barrier because you're making Buddy Barrier scores. You're using your Unite a lot because you're scoring a lot, so you charge it super fast. I love this build. This is my favorite way to play Greedent, for sure. Eldegoss, I run Buddy Barrier, Focus Band, Muscle Band. The Buddy Barrier and Focus Band to keep me and then, of course, allies alive when I use my Unite move. And then Muscle Band because you're constantly doing your basic attacks. Your moves hit for well enough. Your shield heals for well enough. I think this is a solid setup for any Eldegoss build that you are running. I've seen some people use glasses or stacking items so that they can make their shield stronger and their tornado stronger. Fun choice, I like it, but I think a more solid build is Muscle, Focus, Buddy. Cramorant is one of the only Pokemon that I from time to time run an energy amplifier on, and it's because its Unite move is terrible and I want to make it a little better, but it's not that helpful, honestly. Buddy Barrier because its Unite move makes you immobile and you're just a sitting duck. But yeah, Focus Band, people dive in on you, ironically enough, and you kind of need some health there. I've seen some people run the Choice Specs on Cram, and I don't think that's a bad call, especially if you're running Surf Hurricane. You could use it with Dive as well, but I don't see a reason really to run. Maybe Shell Bell, maybe if you're running a dive build. I have played Shell Bell on a dive build. You're doing a lot of basic attacks, so you could use the Muscle Band on Cram as well. But that's mainly what I've been running with Cram, is kind of something like this sometimes, which I don't entirely love. Something like this sometimes, which I don't entirely love. And basically I don't entirely love Cram, even though I really want to play Cram. It's just, boy, the game tries to get me not to play Cram, doesn't it? I gotta try a critical hit Cram. Maybe that's what I'm missing. Duraludon, Buddy Barrier, Scope Lens, Muscle Band. This is what I run on Duraludon. If you're finding that people are diving on you too often, you're taking too much damage, you could get rid of your Scope Lens for a Focus Band. If you're running the Dragon build, a lot of your damage comes from those Dragon Pulses, but that being said, you also hit like a truck with critical hits. So I personally prefer Muscle Band, Buddy Barrier, Scope Lens. I hope this has helped you. I think we went through every single Pokemon right there. I hope I didn't miss one because I'm not coming back to this for a little bit. Let me know what you think in the comments. Thank you all. I love you. Sorry this tier list took a little while longer than expected, but here we are on a Tuesday. I guess on Tuesdays we would do tier lists, and on Wednesdays we wear pink.
Wow, your house is really nice. I know, right?
What do we do on Mondays? Goodbye, everybody.